This video is sponsored by Viz Media. So, Ayashimon is a series I talked about maybe a month and a half, maybe 2 months ago when its first chapter came out, and I remember talking about how it has a lot of potential, how the MC is someone that is incredibly unique, reminds me a lot of Gon from Hunter x Hunter, and just the general premise really has a lot going for it, especially since we're in an era that, you know, stuff like Jujutsu Kaisen, stuff like Bleach, and stuff like Demon Slayer really flourishes. Ayashimon has that potential. So before we go any further, let's talk about this video's sponsor, Viz Media. So Viz Media came to me, it's like, hey Chibi, we want you to do a sponsor video on Tower of God's BD that is releasing, and I was like, you know what, sure, I love working with you guys, it's always a major treasure of mine to be able to work with individuals that, you know, actually produce and kind of publish things that I, you know, read on a constant or watch on a constant. I'm always happy to be able to work with Viz Media, and so being able to actually tell you guys, like, hey, this is out now. Tower of God's BD is out, and you can actually get it for yourself. You know, it makes me unbelievably happy, because FYI, if you're unaware, I'm a big fan of, you know, webtoons. I'm a big fan of Viz Media. I love the content, and I mean, I even reviewed the anime when it came out. I've talked about the webtoon on the webtoon app. You know, I've talked about the series a lot, and so the anime in general is something I hold very, you know, dear to my heart, and it was definitely a major step for anime in general when webtoons started to become, you know, anime, and I still have my fingers crossed that maybe we will eventually get a Season 2 of Tower of God very soon, but for now, though, we're gonna have to settle with Season 1, and the BD is now out. Now, if you're interested in picking up this BD that, you know, Viz Media now has, link is in the description, and as you can see on the screen, there's multiple places you can get it from. Here's the price on there, and on top of that, you can even get it digitally if you don't want a BD. Personally, for me though, if I have to get a copy, it usually has to be a BD version. I don't know, just anybody could call me like old school or whatever, but I just love holding like an old school BD in my hand, being able to slide it into a BD player. That's something that always just brings me with great joy. So if you are interested in picking up Tower of God, I do 100% recommend it. It's a great series, and it's a good, like, I guess, hallmarker to start your journey down webtoons if you've actually never experienced a webtoon before. And just FYI, when it comes to the webtoons in general, Tower of God's kind of declared as maybe the One Piece of that type of stuff. So just FYI, if you are wanting to see kind of one of the undisputed kings of webtoons, then give Tower of God's, you know, anime a watch. You can pick up the BD down below in the description, click on that link, and it does help me out a lot when you do click it as well, to be transparent with all of you. But with that out of the way, let's actually dive into Ayashimon, that, you know, is the main subject of this video. So, Ayashimon, if you have yet to start this series, I really have to say, I recommend you to at least read the beginning chapters before you go any further with this video. And the reason why is because it is a really good manga, and I feel like now that we're 8 chapters deep, almost 9 chapters deep in a few days, it's probably not going to get axed. I really don't see that potential. Like, I feel like it's going to survive. And hear me out, okay? Let me explain. When you look at the overall formula of the first 8 chapters we got, it actually feels like the writer is really getting a lot of momentum. A lot of people are probably eyeing it and say, hey, this is really good, and that they're not really being forced or pressed to rush content very quickly, like rush into a tournament arc, etc. We have something that is very different, but also very standard for the shonen formula, but it is still different enough to where it doesn't go down those loops and traps that a typical series does when it eventually gets axed, which example what happened to Red Hood that we all know and love that ended last year. So Ayashimon's first 8 chapters does a good job with kind of setting up the stakes, setting up the major enemies to expect for the upcoming chapters, but also the mystery of our character, our main character that is not right in the head, but also has potential hidden abilities that makes him a little bit more superhuman than the average human. But he isn't no like yokai, demon, etc. He is just a human, but gifted to an extent. Now obviously this could change as the series progresses, but for now he is someone that is stronger than a normal human, obviously, but not someone that is in the realm of, let's say, a yokai. He doesn't have abilities like to use fire magic, etc. He has the standard just super strength. Now, like I said, that can obviously change. But Anyways, the point I'm trying to get at is that if you are still on the fence, and if you have yet to actually check out Ayashimon, I think now is the time to really check it out. I don't think it really has anything to worry about now. I mean, obviously, that can easily change. Maybe in the upcoming chapter something really bad happens that people don't like, but for now, looking at it, I feel like it's gonna be around for a while. I feel like it's past that initial hump to survive at least to 30 to 40 chapters, and it would have to do something really bad to really just tank its overall popularity at this point, and I have been seeing a lot more active discussions on the series recently, so I feel like people are starting to, pick up Ayashimon and say, man, this is actually kind of a good read, this is something I want to see stick around, and this goes into what I've been talking about for months, even a year now, or years actually, when it comes to what Shonen Jump fans have been really interested in, and that is the supernatural spirit detective type stories. Like, once again, I just want to point this out. When Demon Slayer became very popular, it, boosted that type of genre. People wanted to see demons again. People wanted to see yokai. They wanted to see stuff like that. And then you had Jujutsu Kaisen enter the field. You had Chainsaw Man enter the field. And it had very similar kind of characteristics, obviously different, but there was similarities. For instance, they had demons, yokai, etc., which really got people's attention for the supernatural. And then, as we know, Bleach came swinging back in, and we know that it's coming with an anime later this year. And so there has been a lot of shift, an attention shift to the supernatural demon yokai type stuff. Once, 5 to 8 years ago, it was all about superheroes. It was always about, let's say, something like My Hero Academia, but now everybody's overall enjoyment has shifted to what Ayashimon is currently. And I feel like what we currently have on our hands right now with this manga series is actual gold. Like, I feel like this has so much potential to be like the next major hit manga in Weekly Shonen Jump. Like, hands down. I'm not even trying to sugarcoat it. It really does have that potential. It has that chaotic nature that you might even love from Chainsaw Man, but on top of that, it has that nice storytelling that kind of, in its own way, is straight to the point, but is very dark and gritty like Hunter x Hunter. And so I think that the series is literally gold right now. It can really develop into something great. And let me kind of explain the reason why I'm saying this. So the latest chapter, Chapter 8, we get the first real fight of the series. Like, we've had our MC just curb stomp every opponent before him. Yeah, they seem to be strong, yeah, they have some abilities, but overall, he just stomps them to the ground like it's nothing, because he's kind of like a supernatural human, but he isn't, a yokai. But we move into Chapter 8, and he finally has an opponent that he's not able to really knock down in 1 to 2 hits. He's fighting an opponent that is able to actually take his hits head on, and not even take damage. An example of this is when you see his face get hit, but it just, like, evaporates or disappears in that moment, and it gives you the impression that maybe the MC knocked his head off, but that actually is not the case. Just the character took no damage. It reminds me a lot of like stuff that happens in One Piece, like stuff with Crocodile, stuff that happens with Doflamingo, etc. You have it to where characters, they look like they might take damage, but their body obviously regenerates and recovers. In this case, looking at the way the chairman is, I feel like it's just super regeneration that is causing him to be able to take the hits, but it does not change the fact that we're starting to see already the limitations of the human body against demon/yokai that our MC is going up against. Because as much as he may be super strong, he might be able to maybe lift a car or whatever, it doesn't change the fact that he's going up against supernatural entities. Entities that are able to use abilities like fire, ice, they're able to have immense strength to potentially lift up buildings. It doesn't change the fact there is so many different abilities that can be thrown in with these yokai that just having typical strength of being able to hit real hard isn't really going to cut it if they are, let's say, temporal. So that is the point I'm wanting to make, is that now that we have our first obstacle, our first challenge, we get to see what our MC is actually capable of. Is he going to brute force his way to the finish line, or is he going to have to use his mind to be able to overcome this opponent? And that is what I'm interested in, because we got to look at what inspires him as an MC. He's inspired by shonen MCs like Goku. He even mentions it himself in the first chapter of the manga. So because of that, we know that he takes a lot of inspiration to never give up, always get back up when he's down and all that, and he wants to fight. That is his major objective. He is basically a Saiyan in a human body, but with a little bit more screws loose, or at the very least, the screws loose being full on display without trying to be hid behind a comedic face. So I do like what the series has going for it, because I do wonder if he will brute force it, or if he will have to use his brain, or will he actually lose? Now, if he loses, this would be a really good thing for his character, and let me explain. how many of you all remember the early days of Bleach? Like, the beginning chapters or the beginning episodes of Bleach, when you had our main character, Ichigo, he lost. Like, he lost, and he had to realize that he wasn't that strong. He faced many opponents up to that point. He had a little bit of a struggle, but he managed to win in the end. But when he first fought Renji and Rukia's brother, he just got destroyed. He got decimated, and he had his first major loss of the series. And that is what I get when I look at these chapters, is that, you know, our MC is potentially going to face something very similar to what Ichigo did. He's going to take an L. He's going to take a major L, and he's going to have a wake-up call that just brute strength isn't enough. He's going to have to start incorporating, you know, mind games and stuff to be able to win. If he really is that big of a fan of shonen MCs, he can't just rely on punching really hard or kicking really hard. He's got to use his mind, because that is something that he obviously should be aware of if he really has studied the Shonen Jump manga for as long as he's been alive. So yeah, I feel like Ayashimon is a good series, and it's really just shaping up to be something that is probably going to sweep this year away in terms of manga content. I could sense it. Now, once again, these words can definitely change. For instance, in the upcoming weeks, maybe something happens and the series doesn't do too well. But at least from now, with Chapter 8 and 9 on the horizon, I feel like the series is safe. If it gets a color page, if it gets a cover page, I feel like it's going to be a-okay. The series has survived. But like I said, we will see. So before we wrap up this video, I just want to once again say thank you very much, Viz Media, for sponsoring this video. I really do appreciate it. It always means so much to me to be able to work with you guys, and I thank you guys, a part of this community that is watching this video, that allow me to even have these opportunities to begin with. If it wasn't for all of you guys, I wouldn't be here right now. So just thank you so much. And if you want to help me out, though, do click on that link down below and pick yourself up a copy of Tower of God. And, you know, it's a good series. I really do recommend it. I recommended it even before I got a sponsorship. I always love Tower of God. You've heard me talk about it many times. So it isn't just the sponsorship that is telling me to do that. I love this series. I would not have even attempted to do it if I didn't love the actual content of Tower of God. But okay, guys, be safe, though. Have a wonderful day or night whenever you watch this video. Stay healthy. If you enjoyed this video, leave me a like. If you want more of my content to appear in your YouTube feed, click that subscribe button down below. And with that, Chibi out.